I don't know who that prank-calling bastard is who called Coast to Coast back in 1997 is, but if I met them, I'd punch them right in the balls. It was a hoax, of course, but the higher-ups got a bug up their ass about it and cracked down on us. Now you can't so much as call a phone sex hotline. Do they still have those? Without some jackbooted fuck breathing down your neck. I don't know where they find those big, ugly motherfuckers. That's the only mystery I wonder about anymore. And it's even worse the higher your clearance is. Fuck, I'm way ahead of myself. Nobody knows what the hell I'm ranting about. Okay, so, I work in Area 51. The real one. Not that Scooby-Doo X-Files bullshit you see on TV. Well, in 1997, some dumb shit called into some crazy conspiracy radio show called Coast to Coast AM, claiming to be a former employee let go on a medical discharge. He sobbed and threw a hissy fit about extra-dimensional beings infiltrating the government and planning to wipe out major population centers with their crazy disaster rays or some shit before his call was cut off. I don't know. Either the guy was some loser with too much time on their hands or a full-blown paranoid schizophrenic. Either way, he fucked those of us who are really part of the damn Area 51 brain trust over good and hard. Like anyone will be discharged on medical leave from this place and still be able to work a phone. This is some serious security clearance you get here. You don't just get to wander off in a medicated haze. Okay, so let me tell you about the real Area 51. Mostly, what we do is weapons. Weapons you don't all know about yet, and some you probably never will. Or hope you won't. God, we love weapons, don't we? I mean, the human race. Look at us. As a species, we are a bunch of violent, bloodthirsty motherfuckers. Every other species on the planet evolves to fit a specific niche, a specific climate, a specific place in the food chain, a specific altitude, etc. Not us. We find a place that's too cold. We got the next furry bastard we see and wrap its skin around us. Can't grow food in our town. We take over the next place that can and make them send us all their crops. And then we multiply. Circumstances be damned. The reason we are the tip top of the food chain is that we fight, fuck, and kill better than any other species on the planet. Even the other apes can't compete. Chimpanzees love to assault and torture their own and other species just as much as we do, and they are damn smart about it. Chimps in the zoo will take a twig and hold it out. Ah, look at the cute little monkey, offering you a gift. If you're stupid enough to take it, they'll grab you with their other arm and slam you up against the cage, and they won't let go. Just for fun. The little bastards are all muscle and spiteful intellect. They can and dare rip our genitals right off our weak monkey bodies, and we still gun them down in the bush and eat what are essentially our cousins, right down to endangered status. That's why we have nothing to worry about with real aliens, and why nobody gives a shit that I'm writing this out right now. We're a strange little marble of a planet, with a huge variety of different climates, crazy weather, and extreme terrains that you just don't see much of on other planets. So, you ever get a planet that's too harsh, and the little green bastards end up so frothing at the mouth violent that they annihilate each other before they can break out of their galaxy. Or, you get a utopian culture that can only come from an environment where food and resources are plentiful, and the masses can peacefully come up with the crazy doodads needed to get off the planet. It sounds overly simple, I know, but that's generally the way it has worked. Now all the hippies help out the savages, and things are getting better. That's where we come in. Nobody has paid much attention to our galaxy previously because it's made up of planets who never managed to make it out of berserker mode. So in the 50s, some of the bigwigs of the hippie races came to look at our little curiosity, and they were shocked to find us here. Last time they looked, we were barely evolved at all, still pretty much cavemen, pretty much concentrated in Africa. Now we'd spread across the whole planet, and had made leaps and bounds, both in our evolution and our technology. They came in for a closer look, came up on our radar, and what do? We opened fire. That's right, Roswell wasn't a bunch of drunk alien hicks who swerved to avoid hitting a space deer. We shot the motherfuckers down. It wasn't just a lucky shot either. They just didn't usually have to worry about getting shot at. Either they're flying off to talk to other hippies, or they get the space equivalent of arrows fired at them. But our weapons tore them apart, like a semi, plowing into some cheap little rice burner. We scavenged their technology and then tore them apart to see how they worked. Priorities, huh? And no, none of the tapes are real. We're not that fucking stupid. We've made peaceful contact since then. We have our own hippies, after all. But they mostly keep their distance, understandably. And now the rest of the civilized universe is sort of watching us with a horrified fascination to see if we end up annihilating each other, or if we make it and move out into the universe at large. And let me tell you, they are seriously worried about what will happen if the second option comes to pass. If our positions were reversed, we would have nuked the fuckers from orbit ages ago, but they would not dream of it, and, well, here we all are. Goddamn, I've stayed pretty far from my original point, but, well, shit. It's not like I've got much better to do in my free time. So, we don't have to worry about the would-be alien threat. Sure, their defenses have gotten better over time, but hey, they ain't us. No, what we have to worry about is other monkeys. Not literally, of course. We are our own biggest threat. It turns out it was man, etc., etc. The Russians and the Americans and the Chinese, etc., etc., are all still duking it out to come out on top. And that was what freaked the bigwigs out. What if some dingbat did manage to wander off, made some half-baked call into some half-baked radio show, or make some dumb shit tweet or something, and them getting cut off is actually them getting snapped up by one of our enemies/allies. Americans are the first, and only, to get the drop on a bunch of spacemen and start reverse engineering their shit, and weaponizing it, of course. Sure, the other countries eventually end up copying us, but again, that's the stuff that they, and you all, I guess, get to see. Even if the crank caller was for real and had totally gone off the rails sanity-wise, the things that they could get from even a hallucinating schizo could put our military superiority in serious jeopardy. And lordy loo, we don't want that, do we? Now, it's been something like 16 years since then, and just like the TSA after 9/11, they're talking about finally cooling their guns again and dialing back the restrictions some. I fucking hope so. I've had to scratch my balls for 15 years, which is problematic when you're a brain in a goddamn tin can. Be around November of last year, Washington State. New to the area, like the woods, so a few friends of mine there that are huge in woods fiends decide to take me out into a secluded as hell spot. What the hell, I'll do it. Need some time away from work. Get the weekend off, pack my bag, clean the rifle, and head over to friend's house. End up about 25 or 30 miles from the Canadian border in this forest that just goes on forever. I'm really digging it because my home state does not have shit like this. There's 6 of us and 2 dogs, a Labrador and a Rottweiler. Each person also has either a hunting rifle or shotgun with a handgun, except for me. Park cars on this tiny ass game warden or border patrol dirt road and hike about 4 miles into the woods. By this time, it's already starting to get a little dark, so we decide to build a fire right off so we can set up tents. 2 of the group and 1 of the dogs go out to gather wood, while the rest of us start setting up the tent. One of those huge, sodding, 6 to 8 person ones. November gets cold up there. Tent set up in about 15 minutes. The trio still aren't back yet. What the fuck? Must be fucking low. So we just say screw it and start one from some branches from around the site. Start hearing crashing noises headed our way, like someone running their asses off. The 2 guys come barreling through, wide-eyed as fuck. The dog ain't nowhere to be seen. They start yammering on about seeing one of the other guys out in the woods acting weird, so they started trying to get close. Every time they get close though, he would move away. Said at one point he disappeared, then popped up not 10 feet behind them. Also mentioned a really bad, rotten meat and spoiled milk smell popping up around them. Tried asking what was up, no answer. Then apparently he took off just sprinting like Usain Bolt into the woods. Dog takes off after him, barking its head off. The 2 dudes take off after the dog. Lose both the guy and the dog pretty soon, and the smell starts disappearing as well. Far off, hear a weird screeching, followed by a really loud dog's yelp. Then the smell comes back with a vengeance, this time with what they described as mad giggling. They nope the fuck out of there and back to the camp. They get really pissed at the dude. All of us that were there vouch for the guy. so pretty soon we're all weirded out but think it's a really fucked up joke. I say as much, and I get yelled at, then have, well, where the fuck is the dog then, tossed at me. Fuck, good point. At this point though, the sun was already well on its way down, so we build the fire up, and bring out some Coleman lanterns as well. All of us are huddled around the fire, eating MREs, and the guns are at hand. About 15 minutes after dark, the remaining dog, the Rottweiler, kinda perks up and starts growling, and I mean that really fucking aggressive growl. Smell pops up, and the guys were not wrong about the smell. I have smelled rotten deer carcasses that smelled fresher. Weird groanings start up, and you can hear branches and leaves crackling out around the perimeter of our camp. Noping intensifies all around. The dog is going ballistic, so one of the guys with a shotgun, let's call him Greg, stands up and fires off 3 rounds of buckshot into the woods. This hellacious screech comes out of the woods and starts moving away from us fast as hell, and the smell goes as well. We wait about an hour, then decide to try and get some sleep with 2 people on guard at all times. First watch is me and another of the guys, Victor. The dog is chilling around the fire as well. 2 hours up, nothing. Wake up Greg and Tom for the turn. Asleep for a little, then wake up to that smell and Greg yelling his head off, so we get up and head outside. Greg is looking around the edge of the woods with a spotlight and calling out Tom's name. Ask what happened. They'd been sitting there when they heard one of the guys from earlier calling out from the woods. The dog started growling and rushed the spot, and Tom followed after. Dog has went through some bushes and he'd lost him, so Tom followed him into the woods. Greg had been yelling for him when he heard Tom begin to say something before he was cut off. Shit, can't leave him out there, so we all put on some clothes, grab a flashlight or spot for each person and our guns, and head out. By this time, the smell was everywhere, and it was making most of us rather nauseous, but we kept going because we wanted to find Tom. Find some of his tracks, but lose the trail when they just stop. Literally no other footprints after a while, and none leading back the way he came. One of the guys at the back is shining his light around, kinda stops and makes an oh shit noise, then starts yelling. You fucking dick, we've been worried sick about you. Rest of group walks over to look, and there is Tom, standing a good 20 feet away, but he's standing all wrong. You okay, buddy? You need some help? Just stands there, deadpan, then slowly nods yes. A few of us walk over and put an arm around his shoulders to kinda support him. Notice that he reeks. What the fuck, dude? We haven't even been out here for a full day, lol. Laughs abound, except from him. Think nothing of it, except worry that maybe he fell and hit his head. Back at camp, try and lay him down, but he just refuses to, so we let him stay outside at the fire. A couple of us go to sleep, but Greg, Vic and I decide to stay up to keep an eye on Tom. Watching him, he does a weird jerk / muscle spasm thing every now and then. Creepy shit, but think it might be something serious. He's mostly quiet, slow to respond to things, until it comes to food. We give him an MRE to eat, and he only eats the meat out of them. Shrug it off as whatever. Then he gets up and starts moving around all jerky-like, looking toward the woods. He asks us if we want to come into the woods with him for firewood. Besides the fact that it is pitch black outside, besides the fire, and the huge stack of firewood we collected on the way back, not all that weird. Jerks something like a shrug before walking weirdly into the woods. At this point, we are on guard and don't try to stop him. Greg gets up a few minutes later to step into the tent for something, so I'm outside with Vic when the smell hits my nose like a ton of bricks and I gag hard. Then I start hearing gibbering and giggling. I've never been more freaked out in my life, and you can tell that Vic is feeling the same. Greg comes out in time to hear it really well, then goes inside to wake everyone up. He freezes at the tent flap, then starts cursing, which wakes everyone up. Don't know why he's cussing, but it is working. When they're all up and awake, he counts everyone, and you can see him turn white. What's up, dude? Apparently, while he was inside, he did a quick body count, and there were 4 bodies inside. Someone or something had been chilling in our motherfucking tent without us realizing it had gotten in. Shit bricks, and shit them hard. Then everyone starts asking where Tom is. At this time, the gibbering gets louder, and you can hear a bunch of shit moving through the woods. We hear Tom's voice calling at us from the woods to come help him, but it's all off key, and every now and then he'd start giggling. We build the fire up and sit around it with all the lanterns on full, weapons at hand until the sun starts coming up. As soon as it's up enough to see, we put the fire out, pack our stuff, and make for the vehicles. On the path back we find the two dogs, one impaled on a snapped pine, the other one with its neck snapped and twisted around. We start hearing giggling, and the smell returns, so we start noping hard back for the car. We get there, and there are scratches all over them. Most of the windows are smashed out, and the seats are ripped to shreds. Whatever. That shit ain't important. Just need these babies to run. Toss keys into ignition, and hear the sweet glorious sound of an internal combustion engine start up. Toss shit in, get in, and we speed out of there. Don't talk about it for a few months, and most of us don't admit it happened. One of the guys with us told me later that he'd seen Tom at the edge of the woods, staring at us as we left, with this creepy fucking grin on his face. And I know that I'll never go camping that far away again, without a lot more people than 6. This is a story of a guy I met in the woods, and a few friends of his. I can't guarantee anything as to its accuracy. I am just going on what he told me to be true. Befriend a couple buddies. Head out on the Highline Trail in Utah's Uinta Mountains for a week. Have enough cars in the group so as to be able to park one at each end of the trail. Everybody is excited to be out in the mountains together. Not long before weird things start happening. It starts out with things like hiking poles and backpacks ending up at opposite sides of camps to where people left them. Everybody's boots are upside down in the morning. They hang their food bags on certain trees at night, but find them tied to certain other trees in the mornings. Most people brush the stuff off as animals or someone in their group getting a midnight snack. Weirder and weirder shit starts happening. My friend wakes up to find muddy handprints all over the inside of his tent fly, in between the inner tent and the fly. As they are hiking, they lose the trail only to backtrack and find large, freshly cut branches in clever disguise laid over the actual trail. People are starting to think that they are being stalked. What really starts freaking people out is waking up to find their tents rearranged in their campsite. The stakes of the non-freestanding tents look like they are all undisturbed, but the tents are all in different places around the camp. Nobody has any idea how their tents could have all been moved around, and in some cases, apparently broken down and repitched, with none of them noticing or waking up. Next night, they decide to keep watch in 3-hour shifts. Everybody is on edge. Watchmen get fake branches, tie knives to the ends, and arm themselves with bear mace. The first half of the night, nothing happens. Then it's my friend's turn to stand watch. He's got his camera because he figures the flash can illuminate wide areas if something comes close. It doesn't matter though, because he falls asleep just before dawn, and nothing happens that night. Next morning, somebody asked him why he was taking pictures last night. My friend freezes, slowly takes out his camera, checks the memory. There is pictures of everybody in the group sleeping, including himself. By following a creek a little ways upstream, they are able to find a trail, which someone recognizes as being not too far from their campsite. They only have 12 miles to go before they get to the trailhead, but it's early afternoon, and they are doubtful they can finish their trip the same day. Reaching their campsite, they find all of their gear shredded in pieces. Apparently, only one backpack was unharmed. They find where their food had been hung, scooped up as much as they could save from where it was scattered on the ground. Somebody luckily finds the car keys, and they run the rest of the way back, getting lost several times, but reaching the trailhead before dark. When they finally get to the trailhead, everyone is too exhausted to make camp or do any driving, so all 6 of them just pile into the car, lock the doors, and fall asleep. A knock on their window wakes them up early the next morning. It's the police, and the cop wants to know what these people are doing in a closed area. As they try to explain the situation, the cop tells his own story. The entire entrance to the forest had been closed for days due to abnormal animal activity. My friend is getting suspicious why the police are handling the closure and not the forest rangers. He asks as much. Cop goes quiet and looks away. A very awkward moment, which is interrupted by one of my friend's hiking companions in the car. He notices that there are about a dozen other cars in the parking lot, but they all have flat tires. Everybody gets out of the car, and they realize that their own tires are flat. At this point, the cop comes clean and explains that there is actually a manhunt in the area, but they're not sure what exactly they're dealing with. Lots of dead hikers turned up earlier in the week. My friend remembers the strange photos and gets out his camera to show the cop. The cop's face suddenly goes blank, and he hands back the camera. It's a photo that was taken inside the car the night before, partially visible in the last photo, which is of my friend's sleeping face, like some kind of party photo where the taker holds the camera at arm's length to get himself in, is the right half of a pure white face with black holes for eyes and a mouthful of sharpened, animal-like teeth. Be me, 15 or 16 years old, always had a weak connection to the supernatural. Can't see most ghosts, only feel their presence and if they're benevolent or malevolent. Felt some stuff in my house, seen only a couple of ghosts, all neutral to my presence. One night on my PC during summer break, playing Minecraft I think, feel a malevolent presence enter the room and settle in the darkest corner. Can almost make out its outline, it looks human enough. Doesn't do anything, so I ignore it. Fast forward a few weeks, it's there every night. Not bothering me, just sitting there menacingly. One night I decide I've had enough, its presence spooks me. Try some stupid shit I read about on the internet. Apparently, you can make some spirits leave by masturbating and looking at them. Bust a fat nut, looking at it the whole time. Say something stupid along the lines of, "This one's for you, as I'm about to come." It actually works, and it fucking leaves. Don't think about it again. Fast forward a year. My room is getting renovated, so I have to sleep in the guest room that's been unused for about a decade. We mostly only use it for storage, but there is a big bed there. Get to bed. Almost fall asleep when something comes out of the darkest corner of the room. It's the same fucking spirit. I recognize it right away. Realize it's probably just sleep paralysis, but my heart pounds like I'm running a marathon. Try to calm down. It will pass if I calm down. Spirit walks closer. I can see it a bit clearer. Looks like a hooded figure in a black robe. Only its mouth is visible, but its eyes shine red. Keep telling myself it's only sleep paralysis. Start hearing whispers. Distant at first, but they get louder as the spirit gets closer. When it stops next to the bed, the whispers are all out screams, but I can't understand a word of what they say. The spirit unloads a full blast of banshee screaming into my ears, so loud my head hurts and my ears ring. Trying my hardest to move. Can't, cause fucking sleep paralysis. Spirit screams for a few minutes flat. Doesn't stop or waver in the slightest. Shat enough bricks during that time to build a 1-to-1 replica of my house. Start getting feeling back into my fingertips. Can wiggle them around. A bit more and I'll be free. I think the spirit somehow notices. It stops screaming and reaches for my throat. Grabs me and starts squeezing so fucking tight that I can't breathe. World goes darker by the second. I fear I'll actually fucking die. Surge of adrenaline so intense that it jolts my body awake. Jump from lying position to my feet in a single motion. Bolt it out of the room faster than a cheetah. Pretty sure I broke the world record for hauling ass out of there. Wake everyone the fuck up. Tell them. They don't believe me because of fucking course. It was just sleep paralysis. Next morning I look in the mirror. I have finger-shaped bruises on my neck. All 10 fingers clearly visible. Everyone still does not believe me. Fucking idiots. To this day, if the skin on my neck reddens, the fingers appear again. Faint white outlines against the red, kinda like birthmarks. To this day, if I go in that room, I feel the spirit's oppressive presence. It's like it's confined in there. Tried sleeping there a few more times, but always had bad nightmares and more sleep paralysis, so I don't anymore. One of the times I tried sleeping there again, I was with someone else, so I felt safe. Turns out I wasn't. I got sleep paralysis again, and the spirit attacked me again. It took me on a 3-year tour of hell, but that's a story for another time when I'm drunk as fuck. I don't like dredging up those memories when I'm sober. I had a buddy called Garrett way back years ago. He was a trailer park kid whose family sucked, and he got into hopping trains and doing graffiti and staying with shady characters. Otherwise, he was homeless most of the time basically, but he told me the story once. Train hopping, hoping to make it to California to meet up with some people. Long way to go. Sleeping out in the grass, or sometimes crashing with weirdos at their place. One night, he's in the grass. This is in Missouri or some fucking place, can't remember. Trying to sleep. Suddenly hears loud crashing in some nearby trees, which he had avoided instinctively. Freezes up, staring at the trees. Sounds like a group of men marching. Normally Garrett does not give a fuck about anything, and he's a big fucker who likes to fight, but he says he feels complete dread and is afraid to move. He hears someone shout, like a command, but he can't make out the words. There is another sound, like a constant swishing. He's laying on his side and looking straight at where the sounds are coming from. They are approaching. Finally, Garrett gets up the nerve to make a break for it and sneak off before he is discovered. But there is another shout, much closer this time. Almost sounds like it's right there in front of him. Garrett drops to his stomach and just lays there. Marching sound stops at the tree line, but the swishing sound continues past him. As it does, the air gets thick and Garrett's head swims. Passes out. Comes to the next day. Hops the train and makes a mental note to avoid that spot from now on. Be me, in a bar one night. Guy walks in and sits next to me. Never seen him before in my life. Nice guy. We talk for a while. As he gets more and more inebriated, he begins to tell me about his special relationship with God. I've never been real religious, mind you. I'm a long-time regular in the bar, plan on staying all night, so I indulge him for humor. Tells me that God talks to him, and tells him to help specific people. We get drunk, and I invite him to play pool. He ends up telling me that God sent him there that night to talk to me. Now, I was in a shitty place at the time. Raging alcoholic, petty criminal, lived in a large nest of people in a studio apartment. He guessed a lot of things about me that were creepily accurate. I won't repeat them. Now he was drunker than me. I had a strong tolerance at the time. Blubbers out that God sent him there that night with a picture of my face in his mind. Told him to talk to me specifically. Would have left it off internally had he not been guessing shit about me. Backstory. I had bought a new Harley 3 years prior. It was stolen 2 years prior and was still missing at the time. It was stolen during a short time when I did not have insurance, so I was still paying for it. Started drinking heavily when it got stolen. Never mentioned it to him that night, just didn't come up. He told me that all I had to do was go home that night, get on my knees, and pray to God, and my life would begin to turn around. Being drunk, I guess I was more intellectually malleable, because when I got home I did. First time in literally years. Never saw him again. Literally about 3 weeks later, the cops called me at 4 a.m. and said they found my bike 3 states over. It was in good condition, considering it had been stolen for 2 years. It's sitting out front right now. Not creepypasta, but really the only weird thing that ever happened to me. In the woods with a couple bros, cleaning guns and cooking chicken. Everyone hears rustling beyond the tree line. Sounds like animals fighting. Shrug it off and eat that barbecue chicken. Assembling guns and hear rustling and screeching. Getting louder. Sounds like it's right on top of our location. Lock in mags and secure campsite. Whatever it is, we are going to shoot it. Step into tree line. Evening, so it's getting dark fast. See a large shadowy figure off in the woods. Thick woods with brush, so I tell the guys to hold here instead of us all getting bogged down in there. Going closer to investigate. Upon closer inspection, the large shadowy figure seems to be a moose or a horse standing up on its hind legs. Starts screeching as I get closer. Sounds like it's killing people. Oh shit. Notice 2 or 3 human figures under it. Screeching and cries of pain begin getting more steady and intense. I am shitting myself at this point. Look back and still have visual on bros at the tree line. Say fuck it and creep in closer Rifle at low ready. Get right up to a small trailhead where all of this is going on, and point rifle at beast. Flick on weapon light at last second, ready to take the shot. Cannot believe my eyes. 3 Mexicans taking turns, fucking a strung up donkey. Oh, well, now I feel bad for laughing at barbecue chicken.